Oh, let me fix this. By the time I was done with everything, it will start. So, okay. Anyway, I like this angle. This is Kiajane Untitled. And I was just, this wasn't what I initially was going to post today as a live, but since I was feeling this today, I decided to just do it. And you see me looking down, it's because I got some notes about my thoughts. So, practicing vulnerability and the art of being vulnerable. And the only reason why this was on my mind, I decided to talk about this was because I've been organizing my room and like folding up some things because I'm moving. And I was listening to some gospel music, and I have been a lot lately actually. And I was just really no, okay, I wasn't really. I felt sadness. I felt sadness, and yesterday my therapist told me to I should be more vulnerable and to embrace my vulnerability because vulnerability is a strength. And I don't disagree with it. However, I also very aware that vulnerability for me and her looks totally different. And what do I mean by that? As a black woman and her being white, her my therapist being white, um, what vulnerability looks like for me as a black woman and how my vulnerability is accepted is different from hers, and I'm aware of that. Not saying that that doesn't mean I should not be vulnerable. I know that how it would be conceived in the world is different for the both of us. But even so, I wanted to acknowledge how I'm feeling, and so basically, I haven't been able to cry. I haven't been able to cry, and I'm laughing, but I'm not like really laughing. Like I'm realizing like laughter for me is also a coping mechanism. I haven't been able to cry, and I've been like I said, I've been listening to gospel recently. Like some examples of that, like my testimony, blessing with your name on it, rough side of the mountain, and I feel those songs in my spirit, and you know, like when you're about to cry, when your tear ducts and stuff get to that stinging feeling when your tear ducts get to watering. I've been feeling that, but it'll just stop there. Okay, well, not exactly stop there, but like I'll feel the pain or like this burning like pressure like sitting in my chest, like kind of right here. And maybe that's my soul or whatever, but the release that comes with crying just doesn't happen. And like my eyes get watery, like my nose, like my it's shining right there right now, but my nose and stuff will get like runny, or you know that feeling when it feel like water or something right here. Yeah, that will happen, but that's kind of where it would end for me. Um and it's not that I don't want to cry, but I've also been conditioned not to cry at the same time, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty sure like a lot of people have experienced in household like not there isn't we aren't taught in school how to grow our emotions as we grow in the world as well, and emotional development that isn't taught in school. Like they literally show you like three pictures. I remember like in kindergarten they're like, are you happy, are you sad, are you angry, or whatever, and that was it. Like they didn't go into like sadness, grief, or anything, and we aren't really taught how to process that either. um and I remember in kindergarten, kids getting picked on for like crying and stuff, and then even um at home sometimes, like, I know there are parents out there who, like, say things like, "Stop crying before I give you something to cry about," or just, like, being not seeing emotions expressed as well in your household, and that's kinda something I struggle with. So, like, for the longest time, the only emotions I was able to recognize, although I knew I was feeling other only ones I could recognize once again was, like, I knew I was sad, I knew I was angry, and then I knew when I was happy, and that was it. Like, confusion, anxiety, um, some emotions I don't even currently have the words to be able to articulate, or just feeling more than one emotion at once and then not knowing how to express that because you don't see what that looks like outside of yourself. And that's kind of how I started. That's how I started writing because I didn't know how to verbalize my emotions. So I figured I could write them down or I could draw them. I could create a world that depicts my emotions, but I couldn't verbalize them. Um, I guess maybe that's why some people have diaries. Um, so as I'm healing, I'm trying to give space to process my emotions without wallowing in them. And so as I'm organized, oftentimes my room is a reflection of my current state of mind. Like right now, there's things everywhere and they're like folded up or like in vacuum sealed bags or whatever, but they're still everywhere. They're still everywhere. They all have a place, but it's not put up and together. And that's kind of like how I guess my emotions is at the time. Like I know they're everywhere and they're like in sections in my brain. But it's not clean. It's not cleaned up, and it's time for me to release these things. Um, so best way I guess to describe my mental state, um, or rather how I compartmentalize my emotions and things. So like it could be like a file cabinet at times or like for dreams and stuff. Like this like when I was younger, um I created okay, how y'all know how like Netflix used to be set up on TVs and stuff? It'd be like the scroll thing feature and it was curved. So there'd be like screens in my head like I see before I sleep and it'd be like that and I like do like this and I'll pick what I wanted to dream about at that time. Like how it's kind of off topic, but like how I still don't like scary movies, but it's more so zombies now. But for scary things and stuff to get over them, I would take them like Freddy Krueger and stuff. So like I have like Freddy Krueger in my mind in this like square of what I wanted the dream to be about, and I click on it and I'll like befriend him so I wouldn't be scared of him or whatever, which may be weird, but that's kind of how it was. And so with my emotions though, it's more so of a file cabinet. And I guess like even the sense of like freeness of being able to scroll through with my creativity side versus my emotions, like recognizing like seeing them as like a file cabinet, um, is kind of how I feel constricted as well. Um, so I'm trying. So as I'm giving space to process these emotions and the complexity of emotions, mindset, and everything, I'm reflecting more on how I got here, and mm, I'm not gonna say most things. Everything, everything starts with your inner child, and I recognize since I didn't have space, in my household to be emotional. Um, that's kind of why I'm not gonna say I'm not because I'm not. I refuse to accept that state of self. Um, the challenge now with being vulnerable and crying, specifically with crying. So even if I feel emotional about something at times, I find it difficult to actually like full out cry. And I know that that's not healthy, but I remember um in some of my earliest memories of self, um being about to cry and just thinking in my head, don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry in front of these people. Don't let nobody see your pain, or even the frequent thought of crying is weak, and I would be seen as weak if I cry, or it's a weakness, etc., etc. Um, but it's really a strength because it takes being able to showcase your vulnerability and like and crying. And there's many forms of crying. Like people cry for happiness, people cry out of sadness, people cry in frustration, people cry just sometimes like when your body is just overwhelmed. I just associated sadness with tears and weakness, because that's how I learned. Am I gonna get emotional right now? um, how I learned to protect myself was not showcase any emotion, and I used to just shut down and not let it be seen at all, um, because it was often weaponized. But in reclaiming that power of self and over my autonomy, um, I'm going to, what do you call it, frivolously, actively try to and continue to actively try to release those thoughts and emotions over myself, and also my mindset, and reclaim my power. Don't let people have power over you, um and also recognizing, like, as a black woman, when I'm crying and stuff, is seeing my vulnerability is seen differently, like lack of protection, um not only like in our community but outside of the community at times, where all black women are the highest educated demographic, but also um, the head of household as well, oftentimes. And because of that, like we haven't been able to. A lot of women haven't been able to embrace their femininity, because you have to step into your masculine to be able to go out and get the money, get the bread, make sure everything's straight. You don't have time to be feminine and all that it entails. And this brings me to, like, even thought like this last school year, I'm not into my senior year of college, this last school year, my teachers being so hard on me. I had this white teacher. I don't know if I can say that here or not, but literally gonna tell me he had the nerve to say, which in your, you know what? Yeah, but anyways, I'm not even gonna say that. But he had the nerve to tell me that as a black woman, I need to do more. I need to do X, Y, Z. I'm at the top of the class or whatever, but I need to do more. I need to show up harder as a black woman because it's all these things. Like, I don't know this. Like, as a white man, you got the nerve to say all this to me. Like, I don't know all that I'm up against already, but the nerve of you to try. You know what? People weaponizing your vulnerability and your state of self. Like, F out of here, like, really. Because who are you? Who are you? You don't know. You truly don't know what I'm battling day to day. So fuck you. I was trying not to cuss. Um, and then even particularly this this one black teacher I had. Not the only black teacher I had, but like this one black teacher I had, she was just so hard on me, and I didn't understand why, and I was like, what the F? I don't know if she see herself and me of being like, oh, you're at a predominantly white institution, come on, go hard, go whatever. But I was dealing with a not a lot. And even my classmates, like, it was being on, like, having to go. I had her for 2 semesters, unfortunately. But even my classmates would message me after class, when we moved on Zoom, or like when we was in person, would be like, why is she talking to you like that? Are you okay? Like, she was really coming at me reckless. And now let me give y'all a concrete example. I asked her a question in class about our test, and about our test, because she wasn't keeping my she was also not responding to none of my emails. She would not respond to none of my emails, but she responded immediately to person email or somebody else's, not at the exact same time, but she would not respond to my emails. And it literally took me messaging a dean of students for her to respond to my email. And this is at a time like when I was sick and I couldn't go to class because of COVID restrictions. And she had to tell me like, you need to show up and you need to show up in my class. And I'm like, so you telling me it's in danger to other students? And another example is like her talking real slick with me for no reason over the camera, like me going back to when I was asking about like my exam was for like a makeup, and she was like, well, you mixed my class for the test. I was sick. Oh, so you can miss your other class to make it up. And I was like, what the hell? And, or like me asking a question in class and she just blatantly ignoring me. Like she'll call on me, I ask the question, she'll just blatantly ignore me. What the hell? Or she'll just say something real mean and spiteful. And I'm just like, ma'am, I do not know you. Where is this coming from? And like literally having classmates messaging me like, are you okay? Why she talking to me like that? I don't know. I asked the exact same question she answered and stuff. I just didn't like it. And right now, I guess this section is venting, but I didn't understand. And I was like, the hell? I'm like, I don't got time for this. And I was actually trying to transfer, but they said I'm gonna have to be in school for additional 2 years, and that's a waste of time and money, and I'm not doing it. So I'm gonna just stuck it out this school year. But um just and actually my therapist actually like had told me like oftentimes when we're like sometimes when we're vulnerable with people or like you share a traumatic what do you call it, event or experience you've had, sometimes the person's reaction to your traumatic experience or like what you sharing can re-traumatize you. And I guess that's low-key what that was happening, because as I've been like trying to be like, okay, no, it's okay, be vulnerable. um like I've always been like speaking my mind or whatever, but far as like expressing moments of weakness per se, like when I feel sick, like I used to go to class no matter what. If I was feeling like I was on my deathbed, excuse me. But now I'm just like acknowledging that, because when I get really stressed out now, like it shows like on my body. And by that I mean like my body won't let me. So I'll be like, take a nap, and I'll be like, oh shit. I'm like, I don't want to take a nap, and they be like, you not moving. And that's literally how I be feeling. Um, so and I wouldn't be able to get up and found out like I was dealing with depression. I didn't realize that because when I was dealing, I guess there's a lot of things. But my first encounter with depression when I was in middle school didn't look like and feel like how it was showing up this last school year. So I didn't recognize it as depression. And it literally took my therapist and my counselor to be like, Kiki, you depressed. And I was like, what? Because when I was younger, I didn't feel like emotion. I felt like a blank state, but now it was just so much. Um, but no, like in being vulnerable, do it for you, and don't allow other people to question how you feel, to validate your emotions. Don't allow other people to try to tell you how you should feel, how you should process. When being vulnerable, do it for yourself to release and heal. It's a part of the healing process and journey, and that's okay. Like we're all we ain't strong all the time. Like there's weaknesses in self to allow for growth, and that's okay. Um, I mean, you recognizing that, but now it's time to implement. So that's what we doing. And I guess like coming on here and like talking about it briefly was just me practicing vulnerability. So I don't know all the phasmas of being vulnerable. And I guess like people who are able to openly be vulnerable, that's like I would. It's kind of like an art form, you know, because in like in art, like you put yourself out there or like stories for other people, and it's just a moment and method of process. So now I just wanted to come over here because I'm pretty sure there's someone out there who was feeling the way I've been feeling or have been feeling. Um, and the state of desolate isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's how your mind is being able to process currently and giving yourself space to, even when like in pain, and even of like grief reaction, or what do you call it, in psychology it's called like survival brain. Your brain survives through blocking, omitting some things from yourself until you're able to accept it, or you might consciously suppress or suppress it, or you just might block it out, and it's not um sometimes you're just not ready for that yet. And it's the same thing, I would say it's the same with emotions. Sometimes you're not ready mentally, you're not mentally at a state of where you're able to process that. And you will be as you continue to as you continue to practice and accept self, your state of self, and write messages to yourself. Like I wrote a letter to myself earlier this year, and I'm gonna like I think I'm gonna. I initially it's like said for like 5 years, but I think that might be too long for me. I think I'm gonna like start writing letters to myself every month instead of like I did it once. Like I write in my books and stuff to myself, but like a conscious letter to myself that I will read um the following year. And I don't know if I want to do that like one for every month or something, and then for the next year read it during that month, so it'd be like exactly a year later or sometime, or just one. But I think it would be nice. It would be a nice way to tread and track progress of like every month, maybe at the end of the month or the beginning or so, for each month, my current thoughts of self, what I'm working on, wishes for self next time I read this for a year from now, and just doing it every month, and then like the following year reading it and then writing one, and then like also congratulating yourself and patting yourself on the back for the things you actively worked on and succeeded. And success doesn't look one way. There's levels to success, and how we mark those is okay, the idea in your mind of where your complete whole being, or even applying to business, where your business will look like in the final update of it, or final installation um, of it, like where you're at on your healing journey. There's a new level, a new challenge on each one. So you can kind of track um on the previous level what you accomplished and how you applied those challenges, and that becomes your ministry. Like your challenges will become your ministry to helping others and yourself once you accomplish them. And then like with every new level there's a new challenge, new devil to accomplish, to conquer. And yeah, so I guess that was just me being vulnerable and shit, I guess, and also like kind of ranting at the same time. But this has been Kiajane Untitled. um I would like to give you a space to grow, be vulnerable, love, be self, accepting space, a protected space. And as we continue to, as I continue to grow, I would like for us all to grow together and continue to make progressions of self, and give yourself grace as well for when you feel you fall short, um, because that's okay. That's human. We don't get it right all the time immediately, or when you do, it doesn't look like exactly how you want it to look. But that's okay. You just keep working on it. So, peace, love, healing, serenity. Thank you for being here. You are loved. Goodbye.